Hello and welcome to our gathering where we loop and scoop together, where we move from fear and contraction into presence and connection. So, however you're experiencing yourself today, this is a come as you are party. So, you're all welcome, all of your different facets and everything that's emerging and disappearing and jumbled up and clear to you. Let's just all just welcome all of it in the big pageant. So I wanted to let you know, those of you who we get lots of inquiries that are basically, how are you doing? And so I just want to make the announcement that each day Gay, who broke his leg last week or about 10 days ago, it was, it's in the fog of the past there. He is doing much better, and he's clearly on the road to recovery now, and getting each day's getting more sort of coherence and more ability. Yeah. And and I think he's starting to enjoy himself, just just having more capability. And so thank you for all your support. And he can really feel it, and he tells me that, so I really appreciate that. So, and I just finished a entire weekend, 3 days of a couples course. So, yeah, so it was really like, could you just have everything happen all at once? Yeah. So, the in fact, for those of you who have not yet seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, that was my experience, is everything everywhere all at once. And but in that movie, my very, very favorite part is the sausage fingers. And I was imagining, so one of the transformations, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, one of the transformations is that people end up with fingers that have long sausages instead of fingers on them. And so one of the ways that I have thought of using that is, when people blame, they usually, do this. And so what would happen if you imagined that you had sausage fingers? And so blaming just, turns it into play rather than, aggression. So, so one of the things that was occurring to me this morning, it just popped in, was considering your body as a bottle that you can fill from the bottom up. We usually give attention to filling and doing our loop of awareness from up here. So I was imagining, if as you give yourself attention, in fact, let yourself first think of this very reliable way of generating a kind of energy that will fill your reservoir, is to think of someone or a place that you love. So a person that when you think of them, you actually have the experience of loving, that connection, that being with, or a place that you love to go. So there's a place by the ocean that I really love to go. And when I think of myself there, I experience this expansion and flow and the warmth of the sun. And so let yourself think of that person or place until you're actually having the experience of that surrounding you. And then I'd like you to imagine it filling you up from your feet up your body. And especially any place that is feeling more, pinched or parched, or that's feeling a kind of a tension. Let that loving, and you can use your hands and bring in love scoops, or you can let your roots, the roots of your feet and the tendrils of your skin, just slurp it up. In fact, I was enjoying making slurpy sounds. So if you have some favorite sounds that you want to make to kind of slurp it up and let it move around in you, let it register, let it fill up any little cracks, any little places that are feeling like, I just, bleh. It may not even have any words. So any places that would just like some loving attention. Let yourself slurp that up and letting it gently rise. I'm using lots of water analogies these days because our reservoir is now at 68%. And a lot of that is it comes in every day and the level rises. So it's coming in from all kinds of different sources. And so let yourself imagine that and actually experience that love, the love being in the same space with, is coming into you from all different directions. So it's coming in from the sunlight, it's coming in from the plants exuding oxygen, it's coming in from the air, giving you refreshment, it's coming in from your intention to appreciate, and the appreciation comes back to you. So the loop of awareness through appreciation goes both ways. So I appreciate, and then that appreciation comes back to me from my noticing and then giving attention to how am I receiving that. So letting that and letting yourself return to see the filling can go on while you're giving it your attention to other things. This is the really cool thing about experiencing yourself as a reservoir that can be filled from all kinds of different directions. So would you be willing to let that, the image of you're connecting with something or someone that you love, and you're standing in that, you're resting into that, and then that can just fill you even while you're doing other things. So experiment with letting yourself really set that up for yourself, feeling that, and then you can just occasionally return to it and going, oh yeah, I just want to give a little bit more attention to, opening any gates that I might have closed that, that are preventing some kind of nourishment from coming to me. And then that can go on while you're doing other things. Yeah. So what kind of reminder could you give yourself that that is continuing? It might be just occasionally doing a love scoop and giving that to maybe someplace lower in your body, like your thighs, or your knees, or wiggling your toes and feel them wiggling in the meadow or wiggling in the sand or wiggling in the presence of that person loves you. When you're around somebody who really, really loves you, there's a kind of a little wiggle that can happen, like, ooh, that little wiggle of delight, like, ooh, they get me. So you can give that to yourself as well. There's a certain thing that my cat Greta does when she wants to sit on my lap, is at first she stands on me like, I own you. And this is my place where I stand. And so she stands there and then she circles. She does this thing, it's more like a dog, where she circles because she has to get right up against this certain place in my belly. And then she flops on my belly and starts to purr and takes it in. And then she doesn't do this. So when she gets enough, it's like, whoop, she just gets up and she moves off. So for you to have a little, one of those little markers that sort of opens when there's more needed, so you don't have to give attention to it. So what's a little body memory that you could set up so that, you just open the sluices, more comes in, and refills you. So I like to, wiggling really works for me. So it may be movement, it may be sound that really works for you, like a slurping sound or something that just reminds you of love. Sort of your like love is available to you. Excuse me, I'm a little phlegmy this morning. It's been a big weekend. So that's my little stuff getting in the way. So I'm going to just play with it. So rather than blaming myself, it's like, oh, okay, I can just clear that. And then here comes in more love. Rather than there being a problem, it's just moving debris and returning to love. Now, what I notice is that we're so head centric and face centric that for me, returning to, basically rooting, feeling my feet, wiggling my toes seems really important right now because there's so much going on, giving love to my feet. And specifically, I want you to, either give love scoops to your feet, give your attention to your feet, letting yourself go out into recreating, remembering that place and person that you love, and letting your feet go first. Like, what do your feet want? Because we treat our feet, my sense is that we treat our feet as just, the wheels that we move on, and they should just keep operating, and they're way down there. We don't give much attention to them, but they're the root. They're what allows us to stand and move from one place to another. So let yourself just give some attention to your feet right now and let them tell you what they want. What would they most like right now? Do they want to wiggle? Would they like some touch? Would they like, mine are just telling me, I'd like some lotion rubbed in, and just really just some attention given to each little toe. So I've already planned to go and get a foot massage tomorrow, but my feet are saying, no, I want this now. I want that tomorrow too, but I want this now. So let yourself tune into what would your feet, and of course also your ankles, because without your ankles, your feet can't really operate. So your feet and your ankles, and then of course you'll say, well, then there's my calves, and then there's my knees, but the rest of your body can get a little greedy. So keep returning to your feet and going, what would you like? And what allows you to actually give your attention? So it might be slowing down. It might be traveling down with your consciousness through your body and landing in your feet from the inside. We often come at our feet from the outside, like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? What do you need? Rather than traveling down through your legs and spreading out into the insides of your feet and noticing what do they want? What do they need from you? And if you get any kind of a answer, jot it down so that you can give that to yourself, sometime in the near future. When I do that, I also, when I give attention to my feet, I also, my hands wake up. There's a big connection between feet and hands. So our hands are of such service to us, interacting with the world all the time. So let your consciousness also travel down through your arms into your fingers and opening up to what would your fingers and hands like from you, so that our bodies are not like, that we can just send them to a body shop and then pick them up later. A lot of us treat our bodies that way. So if you let your consciousness open up to, what do your hands want? And my hands are really enjoying stretching right now, really doing big stretching and stretching backward and stretching. And then that allows me to open up to how the rest of my body wants to stretch, but letting it start with my hands, letting it start with my feet. So that's one big invitation to you this week, because there's so much wild chaos going on right now that I think, my tendency is to kind of want to shrink into my own cocoon. So let yourself stretch out into love, and then return to letting your body fill up from the reservoir of love that you stand in, that you ground in. That's all feeling quite wonderful to me. So take a moment and notice whether you've expanded your aliveness, your sense of flow, your inner yumminess, your availability for yumminess arriving from other directions. Mm, So one of the things I want to appreciate about all of us is that I experience my creativity and my co-creativity enlivened and enhanced by being with you. And so I want to invite you to let yourself enjoy the co-creativity that the community provides for you, and let yourself take that into the week. And let me just pull up our Presence Connect Play app. So any of you who are new, who haven't experienced this before, we have a free app that's called Presence Connect Play, and you can get it on the App Store. And what it gives you are different specific practical suggestions about how to increase your ability to presence, to connect, and then to play. Because I think right now we're especially sort of play deprived. And play is so much more effective than working on things. So I want to see what we've got today. I love this. Guess what presence is? Find your feet. So, so I love me and my app. We're in connection today. So find your feet and let yourself find your feet with your awareness. So a lot of times when I say find your feet, there are people who go, oh, and they look at their feet. So I know, okay, more embodying from the inside. And connect is fear melters. So whenever I want to connect and I feel that there's a kind of a disconnection or a sense of separation, I let myself do fear melters before and while I'm attempting to connect, because it makes little tendrils of bridging and connection available. So letting yourself do little sort of mini melters or big melters. So the oozing and rooting and wiggling and love scooping, they can be done in any combination with each other. And also a little reminder that if you're in a real funk or you're in a state of anxiety, that 2 minutes of fear melters can change your state. So not 10 seconds or a couple of times, but 2 minutes actually works. One of the ways that I like to use fear melters as a way of connecting is to put on music and let myself do fear melters in all kinds of different directions, because then I get the loving connection of the music as well. And that's 2 or 3 minutes. And then I'm ready to go in a whole new presence state. And play says exaggerate the persona and the role. So what that means is when you find yourself kind of caught, or in a sense of things are not quite working, there's very often a role that you've learned that's in charge of that. So one of the ones we were playing with over the weekend was super competent, perfectionist, hard worker. So let yourself try on one of those, or a persona that you know that you get stuck in. And usually people will try to get rid of it. It's much more effective if you let yourself exaggerate. So take on the posture and the gesture of that persona and exaggerate it for a moment. And really feel what happens to you when you exaggerate, what happens to your breath, what happens to the tension in your body. And then let that persona just exaggerate expression, like my super competent, like, you guys are all fools. If I weren't here, nothing would ever happen. So letting yourself just exaggerate that persona. And then you can do fear melters to let it, but sometimes personas need to rant. So the exaggeration allows you to feel, okay, what does that persona really want? so you can loosen the grip of the persona, and then you can give the persona a better job. So for me, that my super competent is really looking to see, is there any way that I can create more ease in my day rather than creating more complication? So just give them a better job. So thank you so much for being here today. And I wish you an expansive and loving week until we meet again. Mwah! And you're
Bye,
welcome to
Katie.
stay and be with each other as long as you like. Bye now.